What's going on, you guys? I'm back again with another video. I know it's been a while, but I know it's a little bit late, but Happy New Year to those who are watching my newest video of 2017. Well, actually, it is the first video of 2017 where I, use my voice, but yeah, let's get right to this because I've been thinking about this for the past few days, and I didn't know when to post this video, and I really wanted to because this is a very interesting scenario, and and a very interesting booking exercise because I have been thinking about this for years. And WhatCulture came out with a video where they basically said how WCW should have booked Bret Hart. Now, someone that I actually respect a lot, Mickey Babylon, and I will have his channel right down there in the description box. He really deserves a lot more subscribers than he does have, but he usually is busy, and sometimes he doesn't have time to make videos. But when you're patient enough, he does come out with amazing videos. He has an amazing mind for the business, and I truly think that he is a very, very talented booker, and I do think that fantasy booker, that is, and I do think that if any federation would have him, he would be a very valuable asset. Now, I saw his video, and I will have a link to his video down there. And I saw the WhatCulture, and if you're watching this, you probably have seen it as well. So there's no need to plug WhatCulture because it's already well known. So they basically said, Adam Blampede, what he said was the way that he would bring in Bret Hart would kind of be the same way that WCW did, although WCW didn't quite use him to his full potential. But I do think that it's not solely on WCW. I do think that it's because of circumstance, and I do think it's because of what Bret Hart was going through. I don't think it's all on WCW. I don't think it's all on Eric Bischoff. I don't think it's all on management. Some things just didn't work out. Now, the way that Adam Blampede basically said was he's going to have him like a hitman, an actual hitman, and I love that idea. I absolutely do. But I'm not going to go the same route. Like, I was thinking about using that same idea, but I think that would kind of be like me thinking that, okay, that his idea is better, so I decided to go a different route. And Mickey Babylon, basically what he said was he's going to have Bret Hart be like the gray in between WCW and the NWO. Adam wanted, Bret to be the full-on babyface, be the savior of WCW. Now, okay. The way that I see it, and I agree with Mickey, Bret Hart was never supposed to be the WCW savior. He was never a WCW guy. He was always the WWF loyalist. You think it would kind of be like if The Undertaker was the one getting screwed and goes to WCW. He's not, even though that he was in WCW before, but not many people remember that, even at that time. And they would associate him right away with the WWF, exactly the way that they did with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and then on with the likes of Hulk Hogan. So Bret Hart was always like the WWF purist. So the way that I would make out Bret out to be is I wouldn't bring him out as, now here's the kicker. The way that I would introduce him to be would be the special guest referee for the main event, Sting versus Hulk Hogan, because the NWO has paid off most of its refs, and leading up to it on Nitro, I would have the idea be that the NWO has bought all the refs, and all the refs are going to be on their side. So J.J. Dillon would come out and say, look, I know that you bought all the refs, you got all the money in the world, you got Eric Bischoff, spending Ted Turner's money, and I don't understand why Ted Turner would give Eric Bischoff full reign. But I do have, since I am the commissioner and I am the one that books the matches. Eric Bischoff can control everything else, but I control the card. I always control the card. So that we know we have a definitive winner at Starrcade. It's going to be Sting versus Hulk Hogan. And leading up to this, I would have Sting win World War III. I do not want, Scott Hall to win that, and then, Sting gets a title shot at the biggest show of the year for WCW, and it's just that, I would have Sting come out, and you would think, oh, it's probably the fake Sting. He takes out the mask. Oh, it's really Sting with the face paint. And then he, Scorpion Death drops Scott Hall, throws him out, and then wins the whole thing, and then thus getting a championship match at Starrcade. So J.J. Dillon then says, okay, we're going to have Sting versus Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hogan, for the WCW title, and surrounding the ring are going to be WCW guys. And the NWO is like, so what? We're going to have our own guys, surround the ring as well, so that, we'll let it be, an even battlefield. And J.J. Dillon's like, fair enough. But I'm going to add one extra caveat to that meal, and that is the special guest referee. And Hogan's like, what? Special guest referee is going to be Bret the Hitman Hart. And the crowd goes wild. So this is leading up to Starrcade. And then at Starrcade, the return of the Hitman. And you let people wait till the main event. You don't put Bret Hart in, between Larry Zbyszko and Eric Bischoff. I would scrap this match and let just Hogan versus Sting, let it be, add extra minutes to that match. And not just that, if Hogan feels like, okay, I want to be the tough guy, let Hogan try to do something use dirty tactics by, grabbing a steel chair or something, try to hit Sting, and then Sting, gets out of the way, grabs the steel chair and hits Hogan with it, Scorpion Death Drop, and then Bret, 1, 2, 3, and, counts Hogan's shoulders down. Now, the next night on Nitro, I would have, after the celebration, Sting has that amazing celebration, Hogan is nowhere to be found. And then on Nitro, and Nash is pissed off, and they're, destroying the locker room. Then the following Nitro after that, what would happen is I would have Hogan come out and says, oh, I let my brothers down, and like that, and don't worry about it, brothers. I will bring back the championship at Sold Out at our pay-per-view. And then at this time, I would let Bret Hart, kind of stay on to the side and let him do a little bit of interviews. And where Bret Hart is, saying why he came into WCW, why didn't he just retire after that horrible incident in Montreal, leading up to Sold Out. So then Sold Out happens, and it's Hogan versus Sting, the rematch. And I would have Sting beat Hogan despite outside interference from the NWO, despite the NWO throwing everything at Sting's way and nothing working. Sting wins. After the match, the NWO comes out. They're about to attack Sting. Instead, they turn around and beat the shit out of Hogan. They beat the crap out of Hogan, and then and Hogan is befuddled. He's like, what the hell's going on? Sting is walking away. He's going to the back, with the title. He's like, oh, this is between you guys. I don't care. So they're beating the crap out of Hogan, and then Hogan is like, why, brothers, why? And they're like, well, you failed us twice. So that means I think that it's time that we have new management. They look at each other, and it's gonna be. And then they do the pose where they're pointing at the entrance area. Out comes Bret Hart. Bret Hart comes out, and he gets into the ring, and then he looks at Hogan, and then he kind of, it kind of like cleans his feet in front of Hogan, like you know what I mean? Like, he's throwing dirt at Hogan's face and then goes on to the NWO and hugs his brethrens. The WWF guys are back together. That's the idea that I want to have. I want to have Bret Hart as the leader of the NWO, because the NWO was always WWF invaders. What better guy other than Bret Hart? So you take Hogan away from TV for a while and let Bret Hart be the new Shao Kahn. Let him be the new king. Take Hogan out of the way for a bit. Let Hogan be the WCW version of Brock Lesnar. Let him come in every once in a while. I'm going to fight back for my glory, and then, goes to the side again, and then comes back and then fights like Ric Flair or somebody, and then goes back out, does a movie, and just, stays to the side. Then comes back to a huge pop and then goes away. Because that way, you keep Hogan fresh. Because around this time, Hogan was getting stale, especially 98. He was getting stale. People are getting sick and tired of him. 96, 97 was a huge turnaround for him, but people started to get sick of Hogan. And what I really hated around this time was that Hogan was a heel, but outside of the arena, he's a babyface. And not just that, but he's making kid-friendly movies. He's the good guy. He's Santa with muscles. He's the guy who's helping out in the orphanage. He's the guy that's coming from a different planet trying to save the universe. No, that's not Hogan. What they should have done was bring him out and let him be, like if he's going to be in a movie, put him in a heel role. Let him be the big, bad guy in a movie, and let people go ahead and go and watch that movie, because I think that would work. That would work. And in 98, let Bret Hart be the top guy. Let Bret Hart take the championship away from Sting at Super Brawl. Then they have their rematch at Uncensored. Because the NWO guys are always interfering. Have it in a steel cage. Bret Hart wins that as well, because you can have... trying to think of something. You can have like one of the WCW guys like cut through from underneath the ring. You can have Vampiro debut there and let Sting go off and feud with Vampiro. In 98. I think that would have been a hot time for wrestling, and Vampiro would have been like a huge star around this time, feuding with Sting, and Sting can put him over for a while Bret Hart goes off and feuds with other guys that he's faced before, guys like Ric Flair. He can feud with Kurt Hennig, and I wouldn't turn Kurt Hennig. I would let him be a babyface. Let the tables turn. Let this time Bret Hart be the heel and Hennig be the babyface, because I don't think they've ever faced that way. Let him feud with Benoit. Let him feud with Malenko. Let him feud with Eddie Guerrero. And until Starrcade, where someone dethrones him, and hey, it could be Goldberg. Let Goldberg be the guy that beats Bret. But then again, I don't think Goldberg needed the championship. It would have been a huge win, but I don't think Goldberg needed the championship. If anything, I think it should have been DDP. Let DDP be the guy that beats Bret Hart at Starrcade. And leading up to this, let Bret Hart be the guy that ends Goldberg's streak at Halloween Havoc. And then at World War III, you can have Scott Hall win World War III, and this would lead to Scott Hall going for the championship in 99, almost winning the title, but Bret Hart, because he's a very envious leader of the NWO. He doesn't want any of his brethren to reach success above him. He would fuck them over. And then you can have inner turmoil. You can have then Bret Hart break away from the NWO. We would have Bulldog. You would have Neidhart in the NWO. Because around this time, Bulldog and Neidhart, they weren't allowed to have the Hart Foundation. I think it was part of the settlement between WCW and the WWF. You can't have the Hart Foundation. So have a different, do a different incarnation, the NWO. And what was the best thing about the NWO, I thought, was their shoot factor. Them shooting on air, unfiltered, Raw. They were more Raw than Raw. And they would come out there and shoot, and who better than Bret Hart? Like, everybody wants to listen to Bret Hart. Everybody wants to know Bret Hart's side of the story. And hey, NWO was always, you're either with us or against us, and I'm sure a lot of people would be with the NWO around this time. So Starrcade let DDP beat him, sold out, DDP beats him again, Super Brawl, Scott Hall against DDP, the former Diamond Studs. There's a story right there, and DDP almost beats Scott Hall. Scott Hall almost beats DDP, but then Bret Hart screws him. And then that is the impetus to the inner turmoil. You have so many matches leading up to that, with Bret Hart feuding with other people. And then in 99, you can have Bret Hart retire. And the place that I would have him retire in, Starrcade 99. Let him have a loser leaves town match with his greatest rival, and that is Curt Hennig. Let him have a match with Curt Hennig, and then finally says, all right. And Hennig, beats him like twice, and then Bret Hart says, okay, this is my swan song, so it's Starrcade. If I can't beat you, then I don't deserve to be here. And then he loses to Curt Hennig, and then he has to retire. And then the speculation, is Bret Hart going to go back to the WWF? And there are rumors, and the hotline is just blowing up. And then the following month, Bret Hart is the new commissioner of the WCW, and he's the commissioner from then on. I think that's how you book Bret Hart. I think that's the only way that you can book Bret Hart. Any other way, it doesn't work, because if you overuse him, you take away the luster. Okay? And I wouldn't have him on Nitro every single week. The idea would be whoever qualifies to face him for the championship, you get to see him on pay-per-views. You have to pay to see Bret. Let him be a prize fighter. You gotta pay Bret to see him. You don't get him on free TV. You don't get Bret Hart on free TV unless it's like something that is really important. Like I would say you can have like a best of 5 with Curt Hennig, with the final match being a retirement match at Starrcade. That you can have it on Nitro, and it would be like a rare occurrence. I wouldn't have Bret Hart in every episode, because Bret Hart needs to be used the way that he's supposed to be used, and that is being special. If he's showing up every single week, he's like everybody else. You need to have a special attraction. And I think Bret Hart is that guy. And remember, he was 40 around this time, so he needed to slow down. He had multiple groin pulls. He had, I think, a torn meniscus. He had multiple injuries in WCW, and he didn't do anything in WCW. So use him to his fullest, but in small doses. Because when you do that, then Bret Hart is special. And that's exactly what he is. Special. So that's how I would do it. Rate, comment, favorite, happily subscribe. Check out, my next video where I'll be talking about something else. Check out the description box where I basically plugged Mickey Babs. He has, an amazing mind, like I said before. Check out his video. His idea is also a very smart idea, I think. It's a great spin, and I love the way he talked about it. And I did like Adam Blampied's idea. He really had a really good idea to how to book Bret Hart in WCW. But I do think that mine, it's just subjective. In my opinion, mine is better. Because I really truly think the way that it was laid out, that's what it should have been. You don't overuse him, and you don't make him like right away a good guy and a baby face, the guy that's coming to save WCW. I think you can wait for that. When that eventual turn happens, and I would have it in 2000, and he becomes a commissioner of the WCW, and then he says, okay, I will make things better, and then he becomes a no-nonsense commissioner. And, there is no NWO, there is no, a faction that's ruling WCW. It's just Bret Hart coming out there saying, like, this guy's going to face this guy, and I'm going to give everybody a chance. It's going to be like SmackDown Live is now. So that's the way that I would book it. Like I said before, rate, comment, favorite, help you subscribe. Check out my next video where I'll be talking about something else.